So recently I played Jedi Fallen Order and Jedi Survivor. Both games were really fun, from its story-wise, gameplay, and a good take of a 3D Metroidvania genre. It made multiple headlines about Respawn's Entertainment's reputation for the better. However, its sequel, Jedi Survivor, was infamously known for its optimization. As I recently looked into the Steam reviews of its sequel, it was interesting to see it becoming mixed. Because of this, I was curious about the first AAA titles that were unfinished when launched, and were finally polished years later. In fact, I easily remember around 2013 to 2014 was the dawn of unfinished titles. Assassin's Creed Unity, Battlefield 4, and Halo Master Chief Collection are obvious examples that were barely playable, which was considered so bad that even publishers admitted their faults. Moreover, Halo Master Chief Collection took 4 years to finally make it playable for gamers. That's how bad it is when you launch a game to celebrate Halo 2 anniversary. Just imagine there are some gamers who were not aware of the issues and its reviews, but hype about its launch, then bought the game to be unplayable, all for a single game. So it says something when Valve decided to introduce its refund policy in June 2015 and other consoles, but the process, with the exception of Steam, was more restrictive. Halo MCC, AC Unity, and Battlefield 4, that's forgivable. At least when other recent games do this trick, and we started to get sick of it. Multiple headlines will mention the game's state, or YouTubers that review them, but to some people who are not aware, will get affected by this unfinished product, even during the making of this very video. Hell, it's not even the bugs, but the required gigabytes to fix those bugs are atrocious. So, why does this keep happening? Well, we have to notice the elephant of the room. I've been playing Counter-Strike 2 since its beta, with all the models, maps, and effects ported in Source 2. It's gorgeous to see, in terms of its details, and has potential for Valve's future projects in Source 2, with high-resolution models in every skin, sticker, and knives, compared to its predecessor. But some moments during launch were crashing and freezing. That's not because the game's textures is really detailed, but that's how engines work, when having different rendering techniques, and simply porting them into a new engine. Additionally, porting games creates a new technical challenge and code conflicts that Valve or other developers need to be aware when preserving or porting their games, where it's going to take time. Although, for those games who can run on different platforms, even with different engine integration, code adaptation, and optimization performance, computer hardware alone will surely be underutilized depending on the porting of different games. Since consoles are fixed hardware, unlike PCs, they have multiple configurations and hardware needs to be accounted for. It's not just the big things like porting on hardware, but with limitations such as accessibility of hardware of consoles or PC. Since poor graphical fidelity will overload the CPU, RAM, and GPU, especially when the game has multiple particles to render, thus other hardware costs are expensive in the current market. One of my best reference points is GTA 5, launching on PC 2 years later. This was the best execution and business decision for Rockstar to make the PC playable, thus the use of delay for polish is really a good example. Contrast this in Cyberpunk 2077, 7 years of development, and cannot run on consoles due to poor optimization decisions that leads to crashes in consoles and PC. Until a few years later, it is optimized by reducing its crowd density or other methods to better its user experience. In this concept, the little things of creating a larger whole hints at my suspicion of recent modern game trends that are poorly optimized, a reason that is odd. Of course, it's easy to mention recent games look superior compared to its predecessors due to hardware advancements and software innovations. But are we living in a world where game developers use upscaling such as DLSS or FSR rather than manually adjusting resolutions of multiple monitors? Or games like Cyberpunk wanting to increase their ray tracing, crowd density, and etc. to only appeal to users who care about visuals rather than performance? Or games that turn on frame generator to achieve the best performance to sacrifice input lag in PC, which can be a crunch. Most of these games have something in common: single-player open worlds. Monster Hunter needs to use these software innovations like upscaling and frame generation to achieve 60 frames per second on the PC with these specific requirements. Unless, if you want to have better visuals and frame rates, all it takes is one quick purchase to the hardware shop. Ray tracing is also one of those features that sacrifice a lot of optimization in exchange for better visuals. On the one hand, games like Minecraft can change how you play and are much more visually believable. On the other hand, games with better graphical fidelity do not affect the game much, with the exception of comparing them in cutscenes. Now imagine games with upscaling and ray tracing without the use of basic optimization methods, and it explains how a game like Silent Hill 2 can overload hardware through its design, especially when RTX 4090, a recent GPU, cannot run a simple game in 4K. There's something messed up when games are forced to play 30 FPS for using simple solutions by using upscaling and frame generator. I'm not saying that these software innovations are the reason why games are so unfinished and unoptimized, but it's often a reason that people have noticed a trend, likely because optimization before was difficult and using these innovations can have better developer experience with less effort. But these games forget techniques that makes games playable at their best while retaining to their art design or graphical fidelity. Speaking of which, Metro Exodus Enhanced Edition did something special, relaunching a product with NVIDIA's ray tracing. This is rare. Some games force you to use ray tracing even to its lowest. That makes it annoying due to player agency, adding to the fact that the game is still unfinished, which shows its unfortunate deadlines in gaming. As games evolve over the years, such as Rockstar releasing games back in 2000 where there's Vice City, San Andreas, and other project titles that were successful at the time. However, when the Xbox 360 was introduced, Rockstar spent more time on games having higher fidelity and creating assets, therefore only releasing 3 games during its 2010 to 2020 through developing only 3 games. Those are GTA 5, Max Payne 3, and Red Dead Redemption 2. This is one of the biggest factors, hence releasing AAA games was a challenge to spend more time to create. Take for example Modern Warfare 1 2007 and Modern Warfare 2 2009. It has the same assets as before, but with little upgrade. Its sequel took 2 years into the making, but became the best multiplayer game in gaming without any technical problem. Contrast this with Black Ops 4 to Black Ops Cold War. Well, it's different companies. Their philosophy of releasing Call of Duty is the same, but Black Ops Cold War had technical problems at launch that people weren't happy about. This furthers my point about games having complex fidelity makes it harder for AAA studios to catch up. Additionally, crunch became really common for gaming when competition in the gaming industry rises. Epic Games used to crunch Fortnite for their post-launch support, so fans won't quit and complain about the game. For that reason, games became more competitive, and developers operate in systems that most gamers do not have in their hardwares, making it more complicated due to their complacency, where developers have better technology and cannot relate to other consumers who cannot afford those hardwares. Last factor could be developers being afraid about consumers mocking their graphical fidelity in their games, whether it's a sequel or not. And yes, it does happen often, for some reason. So, there's a lot of reasons why games became unfinished and more buggy. Some of them are understandable, some are debatable, whether we should use new techniques or old, and some of them are outright inexcusable. And the reason why people's hype about Battlefield 2042 was tarnished is because it has multiple examples: unfinished product, lack of features due to crunch, an upgrade of more players that the engine cannot handle before, massive levels, and a lot. But something that I and many other consumers hardly question developers is the lack of combination. Why do games need to be launched with all the consoles and PC where they can separate launch dates like other games? Why developers cannot use old techniques of optimization while using new optimization as a way of shortcuts that retains its game stability? Why can't games delay their own products? Well, that's answerable. This is the problem. I remember when playing Jedi Survivor that this game undeservedly gets all the hate due to the PC optimization, where it cannot delay or separate its launch date from other devices, unfortunately making it feel like a scam, but not really, when developers fix the mess that publishers demand them to launch in this exact timeline. However, I'm saying this lately because I have a decent PC specs. I have a RTX 3060 and 24GB of RAM. This improves my quality of resolution years later, but before, my PC specs were 8GB of RAM and GTX 1050. So that means imagine I play CS2 with these FPS and most of my gameplay wouldn't be playable because of the advancements that are too expensive and fast for PC. It's so weird to see consumers needing to buy PC specs just to make the game playable. Even if the game is free, it still needs to depend on its hardware. It's a trend that gamers realize why optimization on games is a lost art due to heavy reliance on AI to make game development easier. For the publishers, I know there are some gamers who do not buy your products because of the inconvenience, and if publishers want to squeeze every dollar and earn more revenue, which of course some companies do, there needs to be a line for finishing games, using software innovation and old techniques of optimization and testing. Moreover, we already did this before. Some games gives options for gamers to adjust settings, relaunch games by porting or enhancing it for a subset of gamers, delaying games that needs to be delayed, and many more. Why not make these a standard? Most AAA games force developers to crunch and lately get undeserved hate when that game has technical flaws, even if it's an art or a masterpiece. Hence me making this video. While this problem is not going away, this problem can hopefully be addressed in the future. So, it's been a while, and it's been like 8 months of me not uploading the video. I'm excited for the Austin Major. I can finally have a deserved break while doing other projects in the future. I won't mention them in the video because it's usually me forcing on my personal life. I've reflected on not doing YouTube in a while and regret not doing this format. So I'll try my best to upload videos and ideas that I really want to. Also thanks to people helping me create routines, schedules, and most importantly, stop delaying things that I want to pursue. Anyways, I'll be leaving and I hope you enjoyed the video.